The episode begins 2 years later after Nightwing's leave of absence from the team. A world-class geneticist named Simon informs a young boy named Otto that his sister, unfortunately, passed due to heart failure. However, his sister Anna has been taken to another location, a secret laboratory, where Simon plans to activate her meta-gene by submerging her in a dark substance on a planet called Ran. As the team members fight an army of parademons, Anna, in her meta-gene form, attacks Ice. Black Lightning comes to the rescue and electrocutes Anna. To his surprise, Anna starts to shriek in pain and falls to the ground. The team gathers around the lifeless body of Anna, and Alana identifies her body as a 14-year-old girl from Earth. Black Lightning cannot help but regret his actions, thinking he had ended the life of a young girl. In the Watchtower, Aqualad, now known as Aquaman, arrives and requests Miss Martian's presence at an emergency meeting he called to discuss meta-human trafficking, as the League has been having a hard time dealing with this issue, thanks to the restrictions Lex has placed as the Secretary General of the United Nations. Batman doubts the League's purpose of serving the people on Earth and wants to disband the League. Aqualad and the others disagree, but Batman has already made his decision to resign, followed by Green Arrow, Hardware, Plastic Man, Batwoman, and Katana. Black Canary denies Green Arrow's invitation to join them and says that their resignation has been planned. The remaining members agree to issue a statement to ensure the League's reputation for whatever the resigning members are planning to do. Black Lightning also resigns, which Aquaman understands due to the incident with Ran. Outside the council room, Black Lightning refuses Batman's invitation to join them as he thinks that Batman is unreliable, and even more after the stunt he pulled during the meeting. The remaining team members cannot do anything but watch as the resigning members depart. Black Lightning then apologizes to Virgil and asks him to look for a new mentor before leaving. Meanwhile, in Moscow, Nightwing infiltrates a meta-human trafficking lab, knocking down the guards and destroying its equipment. Nightwing manages to get a sample of tar before blowing the lab into pieces. Oracle examines the tar sample and determines that this specific tar type can only be found in Markovia, Nightwing's next stop. Oracle also informs Nightwing that some of the Justice League members have already resigned. Nightwing then employs the help of Tigress to further investigate the meta-human trafficking in Markovia, starting from the Children's Hospital where Simon works as an intern. At the Markovian Royal Palace, 2 years after the disappearance of Princess Tara Markov, Cat Grant reports a live broadcast of a press conference being held for the statement of the Markovian King and Queen, Victor Markov, and Ilona de Lam Markov. The King and Queen announce their support of the refugees from Korak after the Byllian invasion. They also add their firm opposition to meta-human trafficking and promise to do anything in their power to help shut it down. After the press conference, Prince Brian, brother of Princess Tara, meets Helga Jace, the royal family's physician. After studying abroad for 2 years after his sister's disappearance, Prince Brian is back to use the knowledge he gathered to help bring back his sister. Reluctantly, Helga informs Brian that he tested positive for the meta-gene, which means that Tara is mostly likely to be positive as well, explaining Tara's abduction. Brian asks Helga if they have a technology in Markovia to create meta-humans. Although hesitant at first, she assures the prince that she will try to find out. After a day when the Markovia's borders are declared open for the Korak refugees, a Korasai assassin with super speed ability infiltrates the castle and takes the life of King Victor and Queen Ilona. Baron Dalam, the head of the country's security, manages to hit the assassin from the back as it tries to flee. Brian and Gregor then arrive and discover the lifeless body of the king and queen on the bed. On a ride, Oracle informs Nightwing about the assassination of the Markovian king and queen and says that the mission will be needing more recruits. Meanwhile, Connor expresses his worries about Superman's absence on Earth. He adds that he is now starting to feel the burden of having to lead without Superman. Meg Gann tries to assure him that he always does what is right. Their conversation is interrupted when Dick arrives, asking for help on a mission. When Connor agrees, Dick immediately leaves to ask for the last squad member's help. Inside the house, Meg Gann says that she needs Connor's presence now that she already lost some of the members of the team. To prove that he will always be there for his girlfriend, Connor kneels and proposes to Meg Gann. She happily accepts and gives Connor a warm embrace and a kiss. Meanwhile, G. Gordon interviews Baron Dalam on a TV broadcast. Baron announces martial law in Markovia to ensure that the refugees from Korasai will be examined thoroughly for meta-gene, following the assassination of the king and queen by a Korasai meta-human. He adds that Prince Gregor is still too young to lead Markovia, so he will serve as the regent until Gregor is ready to assume the throne. In the palace, both Gregor and Brian watch the broadcast and neither of them trusts Baron. Brian suggests postponing the coronation, but Gregor disagrees, saying that Markovia needs a king to lead the country. As Gregor leaves, Brian says that Markovia also needs a hero before calling Dr. Helga. In Metropolis, Black Lightning is about to leave his ex-wife Lynn's house after a visit to his daughters when Dick appears and tries to recruit him for the mission. Black Lightning declines, not because he won't but because he can't, and reveals that his powers are gone. Dick assures him that he doesn't need Black Lightning's powers, but himself. He leaves, unsure whether Black Lightning will show up at their meeting place. At a Zeta tube, Nightwing greets his squad mates, Tigress and Superboy. As they prepare to leave, Black Lightning appears on the bridge and declares his participation in the mission. They climb aboard the Super Cycle and enter the Zeta tube. On the next episode, the United Nations General Assembly conducts a meta-human summit that airs on the GBS channel. Catherine Colbert announces the formal resignation of the Justice League members as a protest against the restrictions placed upon them by the Under Secretary General Lex's orders. An argument between the ambassadors starts to heat up, and in the end, Markovia's ambassador, Zviad Bozovi, firmly declares that the country no longer welcomes any meta-human, including the superheroes, the Justice League, or the team. Meanwhile, Nightwing, Tigress, Black Lightning, and Superboy carry out their plan. Nightwing and Tigress enter the country using fake passports and attend the pre-coronation program for Gregor using fake invitations. They plan to investigate everyone connected to the passing of the King and Queen or Bedlam's meta-human trafficking. Black Lightning and Superboy infiltrate the country and sneak in stealth gear into the Markovian National Cemetery. They are tasked to investigate the Markovberg Children's Hospital. Tigress and Nightwing arrive at the pre-coronation venue, posing as a couple. They start to observe the royal family, as well as Simon and Helga Jace. Upon examination, Nightwing identifies the prime suspect as Simon. Superboy then radios them saying the equipment has been delivered and that they will now proceed to the hospital to investigate. Prince Brian approaches Helga and mentions their agreement regarding his meta-gene. Reluctantly, Helga leads him to Simon. Brian follows Simon while Nightwing instructs Tigress to go to the cemetery to get their stealth gear while he follows Brian and Simon. In Markovberg Children's Hospital, Superboy and Black Lightning find a secret door inside the morgue. Behind the door is an underground facility that disables all communication devices. There, they find a disassembled mother box and 4 kids trapped inside laboratory pods filled with tar. As they try to investigate further, Count Vertigo arrives and attacks them, bringing the heroes to their knees. Vertigo orders Plasmus, another meta-human, to finish Black Lightning and Superboy. Black Lightning tries to use his power, but due to the incident at Ran, he cannot get his power to work. Plasmus grabs Superboy. Although weakened by Vertigo's attack, he is able to withstand Plasmus. Superboy smashes the floor and escapes through the sewers with Black Lightning. Vertigo orders Plasmus to go after the fleeing heroes. In the sewer, Black Lightning and Superboy try contacting Nightwing to no avail. They reach the exit to the spillway and Black Lightning jumps out. However, a rock in the water knocks him out. When Superboy is about to escape, Plasmus catches up and renders him unconscious. At the cemetery, Tigress starts to gather the stealth gear when she notices a violet light from a distance and rides her unicycle to check. She finds that Henchy, Count Vertigo's henchman, and 2 other thugs are burying the corpses of some Korasai refugees. However, one of the corpses, a teenage girl from Korak, comes back to life. Tigress fights the traffickers. Henchy tries to finish off Tigress with an apocalyptic weapon, but the girl conjures a red aura shield to protect Tigress. Tigress grabs the Korasai girl by the hand and escapes the cemetery. Meanwhile, Nightwing follows Simon driving Brian to the hospital. He calls Tigress, who is riding Super Cycle with the Korasai girl. Nightwing tries to contact Black Lightning and Superboy when they arrive at the hospital to inform them that Simon and Brian are arriving shortly. However, he receives no response. He then sends a bug to follow Simon and Brian. Oracle informs Nightwing that Superboy's signal has been lost and Black Lightning's signal shows that the two are now separated. Nightwing instructs Tigress to intercept Black Lightning's signal. Tigress tries to communicate with the Korasai girl on the way to no avail. She later finds Black Lightning washed up on shore and immediately rushes to check on him. Black Lightning informs Tigress that Plasmus got Superboy. Inside the underground facility, Plasmus drags the unconscious Superboy back to Vertigo, who then removes Superboy's mask and discovers his real identity. Vertigo orders Plasmus to place Superboy in the subject room in the meantime. Meanwhile, Simon leads Brian to the morgue where they enter the same hidden door. Nightwing watches them through the bug he sent to the 2 earlier. Brian learns that Simon is involved with Bedlam and declares he no longer wants to do what they initially agreed on. He promises to reveal everything to Gregor, but Vertigo arrives. He uses his power to subdue Brian and orders Simon to sedate him. Vertigo lashes out at Simon, who has risked the confidentiality of their operation by bringing a member of the royal family to the facility. He then orders the doctor to bring Brian into the subject room. Outside the facility, Black Lightning informs Tigress and Nightwing what happened to Superboy, and explains the things he learned about Bedlam. Nightwing then declares that their priority now is to rescue Superboy. In the subject room, the unconscious bodies of Superboy and Brian are placed inside laboratory pods. Vertigo then orders Simon not to do anything until he returns and heads out to meet Henchy, who informs him about the Korasai girl and the incident at the cemetery. Meanwhile, Dr. Helga arrives in the subject room and immediately starts to process the activation of Brian's meta-gene. Simon tries to stop her as per Vertigo's orders, but she does not listen. The episode ends as Brian suddenly wakes up to the tar slowly filling up the laboratory pod and begs for it to stop. Helga assures him that it is all for the best. The episode begins in the Bedlam underground facility at the Markovberg Children's Hospital as Brian pleads to be released from the pod. Outside the facility, Tigress tells the Kurasai girl that she and Black Lightning will be heading through the sewers to rescue Superboy. She then instructs the girl to stay on the spillway with Supercycle. Meanwhile, Nightwing sneaks into the hospital disguised as a doctor. He makes his way to the morgue and changes into stealth gear. He uses the fingerprint scanner to determine the door's passcode and bypasses the iris recognition. He loses contact with Oracle but is able to communicate with Tigress and Black Lightning who are passing through the sewer. He later learns that the facility will be shut down when he overhears Vertigo tells his men to move the pods in preparation. Black Lightning suggests saving the kids trapped in the pods, but Nightwing focuses on finding Superboy first. Nightwing finds the subject room where he sees Superboy and Brian inside the pods, while Helga and Simon monitor Brian's metagene activation progress. As Nightwing prepares to enter the subject room, Vertigo appears and confronts Simon about experimenting on Brian. Much to his rage, Vertigo adds that His Highness does not approve of that experiment. Simon questions Helga, who defends herself by saying that His Highness is now out of control, and that they need someone to stop Bedlam and save Markovia. Vertigo attacks Helga, and says that Bedlam is his plan to put His Highness in the seat of power in Markovia. Vertigo threatens Helga and Simon that His Highness will soon be there to deal with them. Based on what they heard, Nightwing, Black Lightning, and Tigress think that Vertigo pertains to Gregor when he says His Highness. They conclude that Gregor teamed up with Vertigo for the control of Markovia in exchange for surrendering Gregor's control over Vladova to Vertigo. Then, both countries will fall under the Light's control. A few moments later, Baron arrives to everyone's surprise. Nightwing then realizes that Bedlam is an anagram for Baron, the person behind the meta-human trafficking. Meanwhile, Plasmus attacks Black Lightning and Tigress in the sewer, but Black Lightning finds it hard to fight back as he still cannot activate his powers. The Kurasai girl, whom Tigress now calls Halo Girl, arrives with Supercycle just in time to help the two fight Plasmus. As they cannot fight in a tight space, they flee aboard Supercycle and into the Bedlam facility where Vertigo and his henchmen prepare to leave with the pods. Baron orders Simon to finish off Helga, but Nightwing arrives and knocks him down. Helga then frees Brian while Nightwing frees Superboy. Baron sees them escaping from a security camera and grabs a copy of the footage before leaving. Vertigo then opens a boom tube to transport the kids in the pods while Baron escapes through the railway. The superheroes flee the burning facility through the sewers. Brian, who has regained consciousness, panics and accidentally activates his meta-human form while trying to flee. He melts into the ground and emerges covered with rocks. Nightwing tries to calm him down so he can control his powers. Baron returns to the palace to declare the betrayal of Prince Brian. He claims that the prince experimented with the metagene and conspired with meta-human traffickers. He adds that Brian is the one responsible for the meta-human trafficking in Markovia, the disappearance of his sister, Princess Tara, and the demise of his own parents. Baron claims that he has enough evidence to prove his accusations and shows footage from the Bedlam facility that shows Brian on a pod. Oracle informs Nightwing that Baron's accusations are being broadcast on the GBS channel. A holographic screen appears showing the broadcast, which outrages Brian. He immediately heads to the palace to seek revenge. Vertigo then arrives with Simon, Henchy, and Plasmus to confront the superheroes. Nightwing orders Superboy to go after Brian while they deal with Vertigo and his men. Vertigo mocks Nightwing for his decision of sending Superboy away, the strongest among them. It is then revealed that Simon is also a metahuman when he creates duplicates of himself as per Vertigo's command. Plasmus attacks and grabs Halo, bringing her to her demise by burning her face and body to a zombie-like state. Lightning sees the lifeless body of Halo, which triggers his trauma during the Ran incident. Meanwhile, Halo uses her violet aura to bring herself back to life. Halo's apparent passing, and so are the others whom Black Lightning witnessed before him, causes him to regain his powers and fight off Plasmus. During their fight, Black Lightning notices a device on Plasmus which controls him and disables it. When Black Lightning finally destroys the device, it reveals that Plasmus is Anna's brother Otto, who was tricked by Simon to undergo metagene activation by saying that he has the same heart problem as his sister Anna. Plasmus breaks free from Bedlam's control and fights alongside the superhero, while Nightwing is able to locate the real Simon and knocks him out. Vertigo opens a boom tube with the mother box and escapes with Henchy when they realize that they no longer have a chance to defeat the superheroes. At the royal palace, Brian arrives and confronts Baron. He attacks him with molten rocks, but it appears that Baron is not affected by his attack. Baron reveals that he is metahuman as well, properly trained to control his metagene, making him stronger than Brian. Superboy tries to calm Brian down and stop him, but Brian is already blinded by revenge that he doesn't listen. Gregor watches from a distance and stops the guards when Baron orders them to finish off Brian. Although Baron claims to have activated his metagene to stop Brian's evil plans, Gregor notices that Baron appears to have more control over his metagene. Therefore, implying that Baron has activated his meta gene way before Brian. He orders the guards to arrest Baron for treason and for the passing of his parents. In his rage, Baron tries to attack Gregor, but Superboy steps in and takes him down. The unambassador for Markovia, Zviad Bozovi, tells Gregor that their country needs a king who will not tolerate the suffering of Markovia from meta-humans. Even against his will, Gregor banishes his own brother and asks Superboy to keep an eye out for Brian. Meanwhile, a Markovian man shoots Plasmus directly in his heart, ending his life, while thinking that he took down a monster. Black Lightning grabs the man by his collar and informs him that he has taken the life of an innocent kid and that he will regret it once he realizes that. When the fight is over, Superboy and Brian return, leaving Tigress to ask Nightwing about their next plan. On the next episode, the Korasai girl, now known as Halo Girl, stays with Will Harper and Artemis, who apparently has plans for that day, and won't be canceling it even with Halo there. Will then thinks about who will take care of Halo when Dick Grayson is not around and starts to wonder where Dick has gone. In Happy Harbor, Prince Brian, who now stays with Connor and Megan, watches a broadcast of his brother, King Gregor's coronation. Megan points out that she sees Connor and Brian back in the day, to which Connor agrees and adds that he has no idea of how long Brian will be around. Megan starts to wonder about Dick's whereabouts. Black Lightning, who is waiting for Helga Jace, tries to call Dick, but only receives a response from the answering machine. Everyone is starting to wonder where Dick Grayson is. In Star City, Dick arrives with Roy and Jim Harper in the office of Will's company, Bowhunter Security. Dick tries to convince Will to help them on a mission of taking down a meta-human trafficking facility in Star City, but Will refuses. He points out that Dick has been neglecting the Prince, Halo, and Jace. Seeing this as an opportunity, Will agrees on the condition that they help provide security for his appointment that day, and at night, he will help them on the mission. Meanwhile, Artemis brings Halo to a park where they are supposed to meet someone who can help Halo regain her lost memories before ending up in Bedlam Meta-Human Trafficking Lab. She leads Halo through long, hanging branches and arrives in a clearing where they meet Dr. Fate. Artemis tries to ask Dr. Fate if he can help Halo restore her memories. Fate examines her for a moment and tells her that he senses an old soul inside the young body of Halo. Before Fate can further explain, Zatanna arrives to meet his father. Nabu grants Zatanna 1 hour every year to meet his father as per their agreement. Nabu allows Zatara, Zatanna's father, to remove the helmet of fate. Zatara then gives his daughter a warm embrace. At a Good World Studios warehouse, Dick and the Harpers guard the shipment of Good Goggles, a device that can offer a high-quality virtual reality experience. They need to secure the shipment before the drivers arrive to pick it up for distribution. Will tries to bring Halo into the conversation with Dick, but Dick says that he still needs to figure out a way to help her. Outside the warehouse, Brick and his thugs plan to steal the shipment in broad daylight. The drivers arrive to transport the shipment and Jim, Roy, and Dick clear the truck drivers. However, Will notices that the drivers don't match his list. One of the drivers smiles at Will and he recognizes him as someone working for Brick. They immediately climb aboard Will's SUV and pursue the trucks. On the Pacific Coast Highway, Roy wants to destroy the truck's tires but Will stops him, saying they cannot risk the merchandise falling into the ocean. Suddenly, a red car driven by Brick pulls alongside their SUV and rams it into the highway railings. As Will fight the force from Brick's car, he almost gets hit by an oncoming school bus. Roy shoots at Brick's car and sends the car flying off a bridge. Brick is able to escape and manages to climb onto Will's SUV. Brick climbs on top of the SUV and punches the roof open. Roy grapples to the nearest truck to escape. Back at the park, as Zatanna and Zatara catch up in their 1 hour chance to see each other, Artemis and Halo wait on a bench. Artemis asks Halo if she can deduce anything from what Fate said earlier, or if she can remember any memory. In Halo's mind, she remembers herself being buried at the Markovian National Cemetery, waking up in a laboratory bed at the Bedlam Meta-Human Trafficking Facility, from the night she was kidnapped, and the time she tries to hide from the Byllian invaders. However, she lies and tells Artemis that she can only recall darkness. Meanwhile, Zatara bids goodbye to his daughter, who tries to beg him to stay, but they need to honor the agreement with Nabu or they will never see each other again. He kisses her forehead while telling her he loves her before putting on the helmet of fate. Nabu once again takes over, opens a portal, and teleports away, leaving Zatanna grieving for the short time she gets to spend with her father. She falls to her knees and sobs while Artemis comforts her, the reason why Artemis and Halo are there in the first place. Meanwhile, Will manages to overtake 2 of the trucks. When he opens the hatch of the SUV, Jim jumps onto the hood of the second truck while Brick tears off the SUV's roof before pulling out the steering wheel. Will and Dick manage to get out of the SUV before it falls off the cliff and into the ocean. Dick and Will think that Brick has fallen into the ocean along with the SUV, but Brick manages to grab the undercarriage of the third truck. While Will argues about Dick mistakenly calling him Wall, Roy and Jim manages to subdue the first 2 trucks. Roy forces the first one to pull over by threatening the driver with an electric shock, and Jim distracts the second driver so he can enter through the window and take over the steering wheel. Jim clasps the handcuffs on the driver and smashes his head onto the dashboard, knocking him out. Rick climbs on top of the third truck and attacks Will and Dick. Dick refuses to take responsibility when Will reminds him of doing the right thing for the Markovian strays. They continue to debate as they fight Brick. In the end, they manage to lift Brick overhead while Will tries to convince Dick to be part of the team once again. They throw Brick onto the truck's hood and he rolls over to the road below while the truck passes through him. They then force the third driver to pull over. After the fight, the authorities arrive to take over the custody of Brick and his thugs. When Brick passes by Dick and the others wondering who they are, they declare their team to be the Bowhunter Security. As the sun sets, Dick admits to Will that he is right and assures him he will do his best to help Brian, Helga, and Halo. Roy then arrives and confirms that the shipment are all perfectly fine and no damages incurred. The episode ends later that night when the four superheroes manage to take down the meta-human trafficking operation in Star City. The episode begins at New Genesis where Mantis, along with Forager and other bugs, meets Orion to trade for something valuable. The bugs and Orion exchange goods, but Mantis discovers that Orion delivered fake goods. Mantis attacks Orion in rage, but the beings with Orion defeat the bugs and steal the minerals. Mantis accuses the new gods of having no honor for betraying him, but Forager thinks something is not right. In Happy Harbor, Brian speaks with his brother, King Gregor, on the phone about his return to Markovia, but Gregor asks him to be patient since the Markovian Parliament has proposed a ban on metahumans, including him, and the plan to deport the Korasai refugees. Brian asks Megan, Connor, and Snapper Carr about Dick's whereabouts when a boom tube suddenly opens, and Bear of the New Gods emerges from the portal. He informs everyone of the trouble in New Genesis. Megan uses the mind link to make it easier for Bear to share what happened in New Genesis. Bear reveals that reports of violence between the bugs and the New Gods were investigated by the Forever People. In the mental link, Bear shows Forager telling him that strange monsters attacked them, but when Bear scanned Forager, he only detected traces of human DNA. Connor thinks that the monsters might be the teens abducted in Markovia for meta-human trafficking. When Megan says she can bring the whole team to investigate, Connor tries to stop her and says he needs to stay to help Brian. Megan summons Trasai Thurston, James Reyes, and Bart Allen for the mission while the three are busy watching Space Trek 3016. Static and Wonder Girl also receive a notice and join the others in Happy Harbor. Bear opens a boom tube and the team departs for New Genesis. The team then investigates the place where the deal between the bug and Orion has taken place, but the bugs arrive and attempt to attack them. Forager steps in and reveals he asked for help from Bear. Bear explains that the Orion the bugs have made a deal with is an imposter, and the real Orion is not even in New Genesis. However, Mantis still doesn't believe him. Meanwhile, Connor reveals a Zeta tube inside the house which allows Artemis, Dick Grayson, Jefferson Pierce, and Halo to teleport to Happy Harbor. Dick mentions that he adds new designations by hacking the Justice League computers to regain Jeff's access to the Zeta tube and give Brian and Halo access. It is after Aquaman rescinds Jeff's designation after his resignation. Dick runs a background check on the Justice League computers in hopes of finding more information on Halo's identity. Later that day, Artemis, Connor, Dick, Carr, and Jeff gather inside the house to discuss Helga, Brian, and Halo. Connor thinks that Brian and Halo are still not fit to join the team. The conversation gets interrupted by Brian, who is practicing his powers outside. Dick and the others come outside and suggest that Brian give them a demonstration of his powers as practice. Reluctantly, Brian agrees, but when he cannot do exactly what he wants, Brian erupts in frustration, which causes him to be covered in molten rocks. Afterward, Halo volunteers to practice her powers as well with the help of Artemis. She protects herself from Artemis's attacks with her red aura, but it suddenly changes its color to yellow. Halo, not knowing the effects of her new aura, tries to conjure an energy ball and hits the nearby tree, causing her to slam into the bioship and lose consciousness. She then heals herself with her violet aura. Later that day, Brian expresses his desire to leave and cannot stay any longer, but Dick convinces him that they will help him find his sister. Brian agrees to stay. Back in New Genesis, Miss Martian disguises herself as a bug to join the trade deal between the bugs and Orion. When Orion arrives with two beings, Miss Martian detects the beings as meta-humans and senses a familiar psychic wave. She transforms into her white Martian self and demands Orion to explain himself. Orion asks to talk somewhere else, which Miss Martian agrees, leaving the team wondering what is happening. Upon arriving somewhere far, Miss Martian addresses Orion as her little brother and reveals that she knows his true identity, Malcolm. He transforms into his white Martian appearance and demands to be called Malefak. He defends himself that he was just protecting their planet against the green and red Martians by manipulating a war between the bugs and the new gods. Malcolm tries to convince Miss Martian to join him, but she refuses. He then sends the metahumans to attack her. Bear and the team arrive and intervene in the fight to help Miss Martian. The others deal with the meta humans while Miss Martian fights in a psychic battle with her brother. Mantis, who watches the battle from a distance, orders the other bugs to attack as he thinks they cannot trust both sides. Forager refuses to listen and fights alongside the team. Meanwhile, Megan shows Malcolm the power of friendship she has made with her friends on Earth while saying he cannot win with bloodlust. Malcolm pretends to be convinced, but still attempts to attack her. Megan stops his brother and ends the psychic battle, concluding that Malcolm cannot be helped. As Malcolm suffers his defeats, he triggers a failsafe inside the meta-humans which ends their life before Malcolm escapes. Mantis banishes Forager from the hive for fighting on the team's side. Miss Martian tries to explain that Malcolm was only manipulating them to start a war with the new gods, but Mantis refuses to believe. Bear says that New Genesis is not safe for Forager anymore, not that he was exiled, and Miss Martian suggests that Forager may come with them to Earth. Although reluctant to leave his home, Forager finally agrees when Miss Martian assures him that it is only temporary. Bear then opens a boom tube, and everyone teleports back to Earth with Forager. On the next episode, one night, Jack R. Marlowe, the director of the Research and Development Department on the Good Goggles, is busy playing on a deserted street when Black Spider of the League of Shadows appears and confronts him. Black Spider intends to end his life that night. Marlowe tries to get away by hiding in a tight space in an alleyway. Just when he thinks he escaped, a huge boulder crashes him. Black Spider leaps onto the boulder and praises his unknown accomplice, saying that their bosses will be proud. In Happy Harbor, Forager gets introduced to Brion and Halo, who are outside picking apples. Megan telepathically downloaded the English language into Forager's brain, which allows him to communicate with humans and the rest of the heroes. Halo introduces the apples to Forager and is eager to share them with him, while Brion gets excited he is able to meet a real alien. Megan mentions that she and Superboy are aliens. Brion dismisses the idea and happily accommodates Forager. Halo then reveals her knowledge about Forager's planet to everyone's surprise, which leaves Megan questioning why she knows a lot about New Genesis. Forager then explains that he has been exiled from his home planet, and Brion comforts him, saying he can relate. Now that another member has been added to their care, Megan comes up with the idea of using the blow ship as a recreational vehicle for Forager to stay. On Jeff's phone, Helga wishes to talk to Brion and Halo and expresses her worries for them. However, Brion shows a lack of interest, but instead asks Helga if his sister Tara is alive. Helga says she believes so, but is unsure since Tara was taken to an unknown location by Bedlam after her metagene was activated. She adds that since the Baron and Brion have similar geoforce powers, it is most likely that Tara has the same. Dick then arrives and tells the others about the incident which Jack R. Marlowe was shuffled off his mortal coil. He mentions that Black Spider has been spotted in the area, but because Marlowe was terminated with a boulder, he suspects that another metahuman of the same powers such as Brion is responsible, and it may be Tara, who is now with the League of Shadows. Helga thinks that someone must be controlling Tara through a device like that of Plasmus. Brion insists they save Tara and asks for the League of Shadows location, but Dick firmly disagrees, although he mentions that it is on Infinity Island. Dick tells Brion that they need a concrete plan before attacking the island, to which Brion reluctantly agrees. Brion, Halo, and Forager enter the bioship while the others go inside the house. Brion contacts Helga and lies about the team knowing his plan of going to Infinity Island that night to rescue Tara. Halo and Forager agree to help. They speed off aboard Super Cycle. Meanwhile, Oracle is able to find Halo's identification, a Korasai refugee named Gabrielle Deu who worked in the Markovian royal palace as a servant. They go to the bioship to inform Halo in hopes of regaining her memories, but they discover that Brion, Halo, Forager, and Sphere are gone. They follow them to Infinity Island aboard the bioship. Halo, Brion, and Forager arrive at Infinity Island aboard Super Cycle. They come across Sensei, who is meditating. Brion lashes out and demands to know her sister's whereabouts, but Sensei firmly says that Tara is not on the island. Losing patience with Sensei's indirect responses, Brion attacks, burning the meditation space, which angers Sensei. Sensei fights back and easily subdues them. He snatches Halo and snaps her neck. Brion erupts in anger and unleashes more lava while Super Cycle shoots at Sensei, who dodges their attacks before employing the help of Ubu and another ninja. Ubu opens fire and takes down Super Cycle. Forager attacks Sensei, who only deflects his attack and sends him crashing into Brion. Brion loses consciousness and Sensei imprisons them. In the cell, Sensei brings the lifeless body of Halo, which Brion immediately embraces and apologizes to while blaming himself for what happened. Halo emits a violet aura, healing herself. Meanwhile, Ra's al Ghul watches on a monitor how Halo revives herself and wonders if Halo is a new god. The video feed cuts off and the team arrives to rescue the prisoners. As they make their escape, Sensei, Ubu, and the ninja confront them for trespassing on the island. Sensei denies Nightwing's request to leave the island and a fight ensues. The fight only stops when Ra's al Ghul arrives and orders Nightwing to leave the island and take the others. Brian refuses unless they hand over Princess Tara. Ra's explains that the League of Shadows might really have Tara, but he is no longer the head of the Shadows nor part of the light. Brian prepares to attack as he does not believe Ra's, but Nightwing assures him that Ra's is not a liar. When Tigress asks who now leads the Shadows, Ra's provides no answer and orders them to leave. As the superheroes depart, Talia al Ghul appears with an infant in her arms while the ninja removes his hood and utters the name Grayson. Ra's happily remarks that he is glad now that the ninja's memories are returning. Aboard the bioship, Brian owns up to his mistake of acting upon his emotions and apologizes to everyone for what had happened. Disappointed about Brian's actions, Nightwing reminds him of what he did to endanger their lives, and that it should not happen again. Brian understands Nightwing's point and says that he needs Nightwing's help. Tigress then informs Halo that the team successfully identified her true identity. The memories from when she entered the borders of Markovia flash in Halo's mind. She recalls the harsh treatment she received as a Korasai refugee. She refuses to acknowledge her name and insists that her real name is now Violet.